Hi, this is John Barber, and you're listening to TV Confidential.
This is a Lone Ranger mask that can be purchased in every toy store in America. Anyone can walk in, buy this mask, and wear it wherever and whenever they want. That's everyone except one man, the man who portrayed the Lone Ranger, Clayton Moore.
Ed Robertson with a reminder that the next edition of TV Confidential will premiere next week on this station at the usual time. We will play part 2 of our conversation with Pat Boone, plus we'll welcome Emmy Award-winning actress Louise Schaefer. Louise Schaefer, one of the stars of Ryan's Hope. We hope you'll join us for that. In the meantime, our guest this hour is Dawn Moore. Dawn Moore, daughter of Clayton Moore, the actor known around the world to 3 generations of television viewers as the Lone Ranger. Dawn Moore, also one of the leading and most diversified professionals in the luxury industry. You can learn more about Dawn and what she does by going to her website, moreabout.com, M-O-O-R-E, moreabout.com. A couple of days ago, as I was getting ready for our conversation, I came across the clip of your dad's appearance on Real People in 1980, which is at the height of the whole controversy over the making of the Legend of the Lone Ranger movie and the circumstances where he was forced to not wear the mask in public and all of that until he won the right to wear it again in court. There are 2 takeaways from that. One, the Real People clip is just one example of how the public just totally embraced him. They got what he was doing, and you get a sense of the love he felt when he made that appearance that day. And my question for you is, everyone knows that the Legend of the Lone Ranger tanked at the box office. Did your dad take any satisfaction in the fact that it didn't succeed, or was he bigger than that?
Well, there's 2 answers to that. The one is, and they're both, they're both honest. One is, he's human. Yeah. I can't imagine on the inside he didn't take some level of pleasure, but on the outside, absolutely not. Yeah. Absolutely not. Never. He was much too magnanimous. He was too kind, and that he always taught. And this wasn't a Lone Ranger thing. This was a Clayton Moore thing. Mm-hmm. He always taught me not to. That's belittling people or being smaller than some. That kind of behavior was just not part of his makeup by any means. I mean, but inside, I honestly, I hope he was glad it tanked. I would. Had I been he, I would have been. Well, so yeah, I don't know. That was the only part of any of that was probably challenging is simply that he wasn't asked to be part of it in a way that would have been significant, and that would have kind of smoothed over not just his positioning about it, but it would have smoothed over the fans' attitude about the film. Maverick with
Mel Gibson and James Garner.
No, that's right. Genius, funny, smart, fun, clever, and had it been in that vein, would have been fantastic. So, choices. I don't know. I'm not a producer. I'm not a director. It's not my jam. But he very much wanted to continue to portray the role, and I think that the important thing to kind of say about that is Dad had a respect for his fans. Mm-hmm. And I mean even when they were children. It's in the 50s. He respected his fans. He did not talk down to them. And frankly, the Lone Ranger character was very elevated in his language. If you go back and watch the first few episodes of the show, their language is extremely elevated, very articulate, mm-hmm. And almost surprisingly so, right? So he really appreciated how he could affect the fans that were watching him and affect their lives in a positive way. And he took that very seriously. He did not take any of that for granted, and he found a lot of reward in portraying that character and how he was able to offer positive guidance for his fans. So because of his deep love for the character, that was probably really what was more challenging for him to navigate.
You mentioned how he took the high road. He did not publicly gloat when the Legend of the Lone Ranger tanked at the box office. And in many ways, that's embodying one of the core the core parts of the Lone Ranger Creed, which again is something he embodied for 40 years after the show went off the air.
Well, he embodied it for, just to set the math straight, it was actually almost exactly 50 years, by the way. He got the role when he was 35 years old, and he died at 85, so he pretty much, I think he sent his last fan letter out on his 85th birthday.
Wow.
So
wow.
he was portraying the character for 50 years. You know, the Creed was written by Fran Stryker as the Bible, basically, for the writers of the radio show, as in, what would the Lone Ranger do in XYZ situation? So as they were continuing to create the series, the radio series, they would always know that in any situation that they had this template to go back to. So it's not like a cowboy code. It's not as Boy Scoutish, I guess I want to say, as maybe some of the other cowboy codes that were out there at the time. It's pretty profound. It's very timely and timeless, and very powerful.
Before I forget, we mentioned at the beginning of our conversation that Don and I met a couple weeks ago at the opening of the Roy Rogers exhibit at the Hollywood Museum. I spent an afternoon at the museum last week, about this time last week, and I took a closer look at the exhibit. There is a photo of your dad in costume with Roy Rogers and Dale Evans and Jay Silverheels, and I think I don't know whether they're at a football stadium or a soccer stadium, but it's a full crowd. And my friend Chuck was with me that day, and he said he can imagine how excited the energy of that place when not just your dad showed up, but all four of those people showed up. All four of those iconic figures that are so important to our childhood and our parents' childhood, and as you mentioned with that little kid from a couple of years ago, our children today.
I know what picture you're talking about, and the thing that's kind of funny and ironic, and I might have mentioned it actually at the opening. You know, Dad worked with Roy in 1948, The Far Frontier, and that was one of Roy's films. And Dad was, a journeyman actor. I mean, he'd been acting for 10 years, but, he wasn't really getting anywhere. He certainly had speaking roles. I mean, it was kind of, should I even say co-star? I don't know that I can even say co-star in The Far Frontier. But in the following year is when he got the Lone Ranger role. So here he is in 1948, playing as a B actor in a co-starring, kind of sub-role to the very famous Roy Rogers at that point, 1948, huge movie star. And 10 years later, to your point, there's not even 10 years later. I think that image was 1956. Here he is in the center with Silver, mounted on Silver, with Roy and Dale next to him on one side and Jay on the other side. As famous, for sure, as Roy and Dale. So it's an interesting trajectory, right? I mean, how important television was and how quickly television made people famous.
Happy Trails, the new exhibit honoring the life and legacy of Roy Rogers and Dale Evans, currently on display at the Hollywood Museum, 1660 North Highland Avenue in Hollywood, California. Tickets for more information, HollywoodMuseum.com. Don Moore is our guest this hour, sharing a few memories about the life and legacy of her dad, Clayton Moore, the actor known around the world as the Lone Ranger. For more about Don, go to mooreabout.com, MOORE, mooreabout.com. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back. This portion of TV Confidential is brought to you by PrisonFit. PrisonFit, a new, comprehensive, and integrated approach to exercise, food, and employment that was developed by prisoners, for prisoners, parolees, and anyone else listening to this program who would like to improve their overall health and well-being. You can learn more about PrisonFit by going to prisonfitlife.com. PrisonFit's mission is to create work, programs, and partnerships that will provide both incarcerated inmates and released or paroled individuals with meaningful employment, training, rehabilitation, and reentry opportunities while treating them with dignity and respect. Prison Fit's main program, Introduction to Small Business, not only has graduated more than 500 imprisoned students, but has produced a 2-year released graduate recidivism rate of 6.7%. Prison Fit will expand its Introduction to Small Business program on a statewide basis in 2025. And this is where you can help. Prison Fit is conducting a Kickstarter campaign throughout the month of January 2025 to offer the public various fitness publications and products. The proceeds from this campaign will not only complete and launch these publications and products, but will provide the necessary resources for Prison Fit's statewide in-prison Introduction to Small Business course. For more information, go to prisonfitlife.com and click on the Go to Kickstarter button. That's prisonfitlife.com. Click on the Go to Kickstarter button. prisonfitlife.com. Click on the Go to Kickstarter button, or go to kickstarter.com and search for Prison Fit.
Hi, this is Dean Butler. You're listening to TV Confidential.
As long as you say anto pronto tanto, you know, I have a new venture. We're now in the Lone Ranger family restaurants.
Yeah, I've read about that.
Uh-huh.
And there are all sorts of things. There are pronto tanto corn dogs.
That's just what I was going to mention, a pronto tanto corn dog. Go ahead, Wally.
Ranch burgers.
Sheriff
sandwich.
Sheriff steak sandwich.
Right.
It's very exciting, and I'm now known as the good food guy. Have we got just a second?
Not more than one.
Can I swear you into the Lone Ranger fan club? Raise your right hand.
Right hand.
You solemnly swear to eat pronto corn dogs?
I do.
You're in.
Good.
We mentioned before that there is a thread between what your dad did the last 40 years of his life with all of his personal appearances and how that very much is the essence of branding, and what you do today and what you have done in the last 35 years. Did you ever talk to your dad about branding? I would imagine he was proud of what you do.
You know, thank you for that. He would never have thought to piece it together that way as branding. And I think that when and by the way, you know, Dad died in 1999, right? Mm-hmm. And even then, branding wasn't really a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, marketing and public relations, of course, have always been a part of business and certainly of the entertainment industry. But you know, that wouldn't have been something. But I will share a story with you about threading that needle that I think is very moving, and hopefully I'll be able to tell it short enough to not be crazy boring. Okay.
This is the Dawn Show. Take as much time as you need.
Oh, dear Lord. Okay, well, I think, yeah, you're going to want to take that statement back right now. So in Dad died in 99, and I started at Harry Winston in 1998. So Harry Winston is one of the country's premier diamond jewelers, and the jewelry at Harry Winston typically is $50,000 to maybe $1 million, $1 million necklaces and $500,000 bracelets, and just very big, important pieces of jewelry. And Harry Winston did all of the red carpet loaning of jewelry, and that's part of why, by the way, you mentioned the Elizabeth Taylor story earlier. Harry Winston was providing the diamonds on that photo shoot and that commercial for her White Diamonds ad. So I was there because I was representing Harry Winston. I was there with a lot of diamonds. Mm-hmm. This is not to say she didn't have her own diamond, which I did get to try on that day. But anyway, so Dad died in 1999. So in 2001, when 9/11 happened, I was in fact working at Harry Winston at the time, and the day after the planes went into the buildings, the same day, no one went to work. No one knew what was going on. I'm sure everyone listening, experienced the same thing. Mm-hmm. The following day, we did go into work, and Harry Winston is on Rodeo Drive, the very famous shopping street in Beverly Hills, California. And the morning routine was to go open the vault and take the jewelry out to put into displays in the windows before we opened the store. And I started to do that, and I had a tray in front of me of a necklace and a bracelet of diamonds and rubies, and the tray was probably about $4 million worth of jewelry. And I was kind of looking at it, and I thought, this feels incredibly hollow. This doesn't feel at all appropriate to be putting this ridiculous jewelry out when in the middle of this national disaster, and it just feels wrong. So, and don't forget, 2001, this is not quite before the internet, but it was certainly before Google.
Yes.
So my instinct was to put quotes in the window instead of jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
And that would mean I had to have the quotes in my head. Remember, we used to actually know things?
Yes,
We used to have to know things.
Yes. Yes.
Or, especially for quotes, I had books for quotes because I like to use quotes for things. And I'm, perusing, I'm looking up Martin Luther King, I'm looking up JFK, and I'm looking up, Roosevelt, and I'm looking up, trying to find something appropriate. I'm going, oh, these are all so trite, and they've all been used, and I don't know. So none of it felt right. Nothing felt right? I mean, nothing felt right.
Mm-hmm.
Until I thought about some of the tenets of the Lone Ranger Creed. And there I was on Rodeo Drive, 2001, with my staff, saying we're not going to put diamonds in the windows. We're going to put quotes from the Lone Ranger Creed in the windows, hoping that it kind of helps people as they walk by to kind of collect their thoughts. So we did that, and I'm here to tell you that as the day progressed, people would come in the store in tears, asking, where is that from? What are those words? I've been wandering around all afternoon not knowing where to go, and I just couldn't be home, and I wanted to be out with other people. And I walked by and saw these quotes, and I had to come in and thank you. So that kind of stuff is what threads the needle, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That it was such a powerful moment, and the creed's kind of long, but I would love to share it because the other thread of the needle is, Dad was a fixture at the Golden Boot Awards every year, which was a fundraising arm of the Motion Picture Hospital out here in Calabasas, California.
Mm-hmm.
And he would be asked to start the award show by reading the creed. And then typically Dale Evans was asked to read a prayer right after Dad. And so we kind of did this. That's when I met you. And you saw me do the creed, and I kind of passed it over to Julie, who did Dale's prayer, and it's kind of a little nice moment.
Julie, folks, being Julie Rogers Pomelia, granddaughter of Roy Rogers and Dale Evans.
The creed is, I believe that to have a friend, a man must be one. That all men are created equal, and that everyone has within himself the power to help make this a better world. That God put the firewood there, but man must gather and light it himself. I believe in being prepared physically, mentally, and morally to fight when necessary for that which is right. I believe that a man should make the most of what equipment he has, and that this government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall live always. I believe that sooner or later, somewhere, somehow, we must settle with the world and make payment for what we have taken. That all things change but truth, and that truth alone lives on forever. Good stuff, right?
Very, very, very good stuff. Dawn Moore is the daughter of Clayton Moore. Clayton Moore, the actor known around the world to 3 generations of television viewers as the Lone Ranger. Dawn has a very successful career as a marketer of fancy luxury things. You can learn more about what she does, and you can read some of her writing. You can read some of her articles. You can learn more about what she does by going to her website, mooreabout.com, M-O-O-R-E, mooreabout.com. Dawn Moore, you're a lot of fun. I'm going to figure out a way to get you back on my program because I enjoy talking to you.
Well, same, Ed. So fun to meet you. And by the way, next time we're at an event and you grab me by the shoulders and say, hey, you, I'll know who you are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you very much. We will talk again soon.
All righty, thanks.
Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
One more item. Are you starting a company in an emerging market or developing something new? Do you have intellectual property but aren't sure how to protect it? Reach out to our friends at Tectonic Law. They offer rock-solid representation for groundbreaking industries who need help capturing and protecting their full portfolio of intellectual property and intangible assets, including trademark rights, brand assets, copyright rights, publicity rights, and privacy rights. Tectonic Law streamlines the complex intricacies of intellectual property and business law in easy-to-understand terms that will help you and your company form a concrete plan of action to secure and protect the value of your brand and your creative work product. Tectonic Law is licensed to practice throughout the state of California. They also practice before such tribunals as the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office and the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. Go to tectoniclaw.com, tectoniclaw.com, to learn more about how Tectonic Law can help your business thrive. tectoniclaw.com. Rock solid representation for groundbreaking industries.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
A reminder that Pat Boone's latest movie, Our Crossroads, is scheduled for release later in 2025, while Miracle in the Valley is available on Amazon Prime, other streaming platforms. The Knight Rider Companion by Nick Nugent, Knight Rider Companion Abridged Edition, available through our friends at Black Pond Press, as well as Amazon.com. Ed Robertson, Beth, Tony Figueroa, Donna Ellen, Phil Grice, and Susan Silver, thank you so much for listening. Stay healthy, stay safe. We'll talk to you next time on TV Confidential.